Well, hello, welcome again to a reading through of 2 Corinthians, and I got up to the beginning of chapter 12. Kaukastai dei sum feron min eliusomai de es optasias kai apocalypses kuriou. Now you see there's a variant reading here, and one of the variants is to put the word a, if, at the beginning of this. And even if that's not in the best manuscripts, we probably have to understand something like this. So if it is necessary to boast, otherwise it simply means it is necessary to boast. And then we get a nice men and a de. So u sum feron men. There is a impersonal verb sum fere. It is expedient. We're getting an adjective formed from this here, and you've got to supply st. So it is not expedient. In other words, it serves no good purpose on the one hand. Eleusomai. Now, eleusomai is used as the future of erchomai in Ionic dialect. It's different in Attic. But in the New Testament, you always get eleusomai for the future, almost always for the future of erchomai. So it's being used slightly abstractly. So I will come into optasias. These are visions and revelations, probably ablatival use here of the genitive from the Lord. Optasia, the root here is from opt. It's that same root you see in ophthalmos, the eye, and so on. Optao is a late verb, the same root. In the Septuagint it means appearance, but in the New Testament it's got the further religious meaning of a vision. It's a late word. So it is necessary to boast, or perhaps if it is necessary to boast, on the one hand it is to no good, it serves no good purpose, it's not expedient, but I will go, in other words, I will talk about visions and revelations from the Lord. Now from verse 2 onwards, Paul refers to this certain person. In a few lines later, he sort of confirms that certain person is himself, but he doesn't do that at the beginning. He refers to this other third person. Again, you'll need to look at the commentaries on this. Much has been written on this particular section. I'll just translate as best I can here. Oida anthropon en Christo pro eton decatesaron eti en somati uk oida eti ektos to somatos uk oida hotheos oiden. Ha pagenta ton toi uton hios tritu uranu. So previous page was I know a man in Christ pro eton decatesaron. Well, decatesaron of course is 10 plus 4, so that's 14. So it means 14 years ago. Now whether in the body I do not know, or whether ektos, one of these late pseudo prepositions meaning outside of, and it all takes a genitive like most of these. So whether in the body I do not know, or whether outside of the body I do not know, hotheos oiden, God knows. So this person, this man, this anthropon, was harpagenta. This is from harpazdo. It's an aorist passive participle. Literally, and the person is named here. It's literally this such a man. So in other words, something like this very person, having been snatched, literally, perhaps taken up. From harpazdo is to snatch. So this very person, having been snatched as far as the third heaven, heos tritu uranu. We still use the phrase he was in seventh heaven to mean he was extremely happy. The ancients had 7 different levels of heaven. Whether this is being referred to here, I leave to the commentators to discuss. if it is, then he's only reached the third level of heaven, not the seventh. So I know a man in Christ 14 years ago, a man who was snatched, such a man who was snatched up as far as the third heaven, whether it was physically or whether it was outside of the body. In other words, whether he was physically taken up into the third heaven, whether it was only a spiritual thing. He says, I don't know, God knows. Kai oida ton toi uton anthropon. Eiti en somati eiti choris tu somatos uk oida or theos oiden. So he kind of repeats the story again. So he says, I know that this such a man. It's an odd expression here. Toiutos just means such, that this very man, perhaps. So I know this very man, and after oida, we're going to get hoti in the next verse here. So I might move to there, actually. Hoti hapage eston paradeson kai ekusen areta remata hauk exon anthropo lelesai. So just to put all that together, so I know this very man, that he was snatched up into paradise. This is probably, again, the commentators will tell you more about this, but it's probably a loan word from Persian. I think it came in from Persian. It originally in Persian meant a garden, and it becomes a paradise. It, of course, turns up in the Septuagint. So that he was snatched up into paradise, and he heard unspeakable words. We get a nice linguistic pun here, areta remata. These are from the same root, of course. Remata is from the root, it's from the aorist passive root from Lego. The aorist passive of Lego is erathane. And from that you get rema, meaning words, can also mean thing, and areta, unspeakable. So unspeakable spoken words, literally. It's a bit of a linguistic pun. Which, uk exon, this is an accusative absolute. So it's from ex ami, meaning to be lawful. So you get ex esti, meaning it is lawful. And then you put this into the accusative participle and you get an accusative absolute. So things which it is not lawful for a man to speak. And then whether this happened in the body or whether of the spirit or whether apart from the body, sorry, I do not know, but God knows. You've got to sort of rearrange the order a little bit in English, I think. So just to do that again quickly. So I know this such a man, that he was snatched up into paradise, and he heard unspeakable words, which it was not lawful for a man to speak. And whether understand this happened physically in somati or outside of the body, I do not know. Hodetheos oiden, but God knows. Huper tu toi utu kalkesamai, huper de emautu u kalkesamai, eme entais athenaias. I will boast on behalf of such a man, but on behalf of myself I will not boast, ame, except in except in my weaknesses, from astheneia. Ean gar theleso kalkastai uk esamai aphron, ale theon gar ero, Fidamai de metis eis emelogisetai hupe hot blepe me eakue ti ex emu. Kai te hyperbole turn apocalypsion. Dio hina me hup I remai edothe moi skolops te saki Angelos satana hina me colaphisde hina me hoop I romai. So a long sentence here. So for if I will boast, a future from thello, slightly irregular form of course for thello. It's as though it was originally theleo, but you've got an extra eta here in the future. It's an irregular verb here. So if I will wish to boast, I will not be afra, and I will not be stupid or foolish. For ero, I will speak alethean, the truth. Ero is future from lego. You do get lexo occasionally, but ero is the Attic, normal Attic future from lego. So if I do wish to boast, I will not be doing so foolishly, for I will speak the truth. Phaidamai de. Phaidamai means to refrain, or well, sorry, the normal meaning was to spare something, and it's a little bit like our modern idiom. I'll spare you the details. In other words, so the meaning here is I'll refrain from telling you the whole story. And so most people generally translate this here, I think, as refrain. So, but I will refrain from boasting, I think he means, lest someone might reckon to me beyond that which he sees me, that met there is awkward, or hears, and then in brackets, something from me. So I'll refrain from boasting, lest someone might think more of me beyond what he sees of me and what he hears from me. Kai te hyperbole. Hyperbole is often used of excess. We get the word hyperbole. So it's something like, and by the excess, or perhaps almost the exceptional nature of the revelations. Wherefore, in order that I might not be elated from huper I reo in the middle, be lifted beyond myself, in other words, be elated. So for which reason, in order that I might not be elated, almost perhaps puffed up, but it's the idea of elated, edothe, aorist passive from didomi, a skolops. A skolops was given to me, to my flesh, in the flesh, or a skolops. Now, skolops in classical Greek meant a stake, S-T-A-K-E, which was used in a palisade. So you put these stakes pointing outwards around the city as part of the city's defence. And so it's quite a common word in classical Greek for that meaning. It occurs 4 times in the Septuagint, generally meaning a thorn or a splinter. So the word has changed its meaning a little bit. So normally translated thorn here. So he says, a thorn in my flesh was given to me. We're never told what this thorn is, and there's been much ink spent trying to work this out. Many suggestions. I leave it to the commentators to list all of those. Angelos satana, this is a Doric genitive here, from satanas, so a messenger, or an angel if you will, a messenger of Satan, or perhaps from Satan. Hina me kolaphisde. Kolaphisdo occurs elsewhere in the New Testament. It means to strike someone with the fist. It's a late word. It does occur elsewhere. I think from memory it's in the Gospels, just before Jesus is crucified. In one of the Gospels, the Roman soldiers slap or hit Jesus with their fist, and that's I think the word used there. The meaning here is, a thorn can't really hit you with its fist, so the meaning here probably just means to strike. So in order that he might strike me, he might hit me. Hina, in order that I might not become elated. So just to quickly do that bit there again, because it is a little bit complicated here. So for if I wish to boast, I will not be foolish, for I will speak the truth. But I will spare you, so I'll refrain from boasting, lest someone might reckon to me, in other words, might regard me, beyond as something beyond which he sees me understand to be, or hears something from me, and by the exceptional nature of the revelations. So he seems to be in this section here saying that it is actually he who had these, who was taken up into the third heaven and to the paradise and so on. Wherefore, in order that I might not be elated, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, and a messenger of Satan, in order that he might hit me, might strike me, in order that I might not be elated. Huper tutu triston kurion par ekalesa hina aposte ap emu. And I might just pause it there. So on behalf of this thing, so regarding this thing, this thorn in the flesh, 3 times parakalese, I besought the Lord in order that he might take it away from me. This is from apohistemi. So literally cause it to stand away from. So I besought the Lord in order that he might take it away from me. Kai eiraken moi, akoi soi he keris mu, hegar dunamis in anestheia. On the next page it's teletai. And he has said to me, this is the perfect from Lego, he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. For power, and then the teletai on the next page is made perfect, in asthenia, in weakness. Heidiste un malon, kalkesamai entais astheniais mu, hina episkenose ep eme, heidunamis to Christu. It's rather than I will boast. This is a superlative here from heidus. It's slightly irregular. This is heidista, most sweetly, literally. So this is often used in this sense. It's very common in Greek to use heidista, and the comparative as well. It means more happily or better. So, but rather I will boast more sweetly, literally, more happily, in my weaknesses, in order that the power of Christ, episkenose, very interesting word here, it means to make its home. It's from skene, a tent, to tabernacle, and it's often rendered as to come to rest upon me. But therefore, rather, I will boast more happily in my weaknesses, in order that the power of Christ might come to rest upon me. Dio eudoko en astheniais, en hubresin, en anankais, en diogmois, kai stenokoriais, hypokristu. Hotanga astheno toti bunatos emi. Wherefore, for which reason, this is dia plus hot, so for which reason, eudoko, well, literally, I am well pleased. So I've sometimes translated as I am content. So I am well pleased. I'm content in my weaknesses. In hubresin, dative plural for hubris, third declension, feminine abstract noun here, meaning insults. So in weaknesses, in insults, in anankais, in literally necessities, perhaps hardships, it's often translated. Ananke is necessity, so in my needs or hardships. In diogmois, in persecutions, you get dioko, I persecute or I chase after. Kai stena choriais, and in often rendered as distresses. The meaning of this word, it turns up quite a bit in the New Testament. It sort of has the same sense as our expression tight scrapes or being backed into a corner. It's steno meaning narrow and choria root meaning a place. So finding yourself in a difficult situation, and hence it often translated as distresses on behalf of Christ. So, wherefore I am content in my weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, and in distresses on behalf of Christ. For hotan, which is hote plus an, and takes a subjunctive, this will be a subjunctive here, so whenever I am weak, tote, at that time I am powerful, dunatos. And that is the first part of chapter 12.